Hey y'all, welcome back to Low Power Mode. I'm still obsessed with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but this time I'm focusing on the music, the soundtrack. It's so good and it's historic, so here we go.
I got an excess of black bile, high irascibility, contemplating checking myself into facility, mental ability clearly affected, deep in the dumps, down and dejected.
I've been in low power mode, in low power mode, been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.
All right, so forgive me, I'm recovering from a cold, so I sound a little nasally, but I really wanted to give some attention to the soundtrack because the same producer who did the first soundtrack, or who did like scoring and stuff, because the first soundtrack had less like original music. And the main artist was Kendrick Lamar. And for this one, Ludwig Göransson, that's his name. He and Ryan Coogler, they wanted to take it in a different direction, and it's amazing what they did. Him and Ryan Coogler met at USC Film School, and Ryan said he was watching Ludwig, like they were all like presenting projects in class, and he saw Ludwig's work and he was like, I need to work with this guy. And so he's been working with him ever since, and on both Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. So this is really cool. I'm really excited to take a little deep dive into the soundtrack. Here we go. Music. Okay, so I want to nerd out and read some things from the Wikipedia page on the soundtrack. But before I do, I want to say or speak out to the universe, manifest, whatever, that like this project, like being a producer on this project, this particular project where this movie focuses on Wakandan culture that's based off of Nigerian culture, and Talokan culture, which is based off of Mesoamerican culture, to be a producer and an engineer who not only like scores the film, giving little sounds and little things here and there, but also collaborating with other artists to bring these worlds alive, collaborating with people, actual artists from Mexico and from Nigeria. It's so awesome. Like, could I think of a better job for a year of your life just recording with all these different indigenous people and artists in different, very connected to their history, like spots in the world? I don't know. This is just amazing. And I can even set aside my like feelings about Ludwig Göransson being this white guy who gets to do this, because he does such a great job. He gives so much justice. And I'm sure, those were conversations with Ryan and through his own experience, but this person knows music, knows how to take culture and sounds and study them and apply them in a way to make a great movie. So I don't know. Like if this franchise goes on for like 10 more years and they needed someone to like curate a soundtrack, like I'm down. I am putting it out into the universe. So okay, I'm going to read this directly off of Wikipedia, crediting them, so should be fine. But I think this is so fascinating. So it says Göransson worked with several musical archaeologists. Okay, that was me, sorry. to extensively research and recreate the Mayan music, as he felt that, quote, the music was forcibly erased from the world hundreds of years ago, end quote. And also went to Mexico City to possibly recreate the sound of Mayan. In the research, several instruments from the graves were found, including flutes with multiple components and fingerprints demonstrating how the instrument can be played. Göransson opined that a lot of the instruments are from nature. So it's like seashells, there are turtle shells that you hit with sticks, there are different kinds of clay flutes that make the sounds of birds, and shakers that sound like snakes. It was so inspiring to hear all these sounds that I never heard before and definitely never heard in a movie before, end quote. So this is me, Breezy, now. I think this is so groundbreaking. This is so awesome. Like, this is the type of thing you would think like would happen in an academic space, not in a Marvel Cinematic Universe space. And the fact that he worked with musical archaeologists to extensively research and recreate the Mayan music that has been lost and forcibly erased, like that the it's so inspiring. I can't even talk about it. It's so badass. Like coming to terms with, okay, this music doesn't exist anymore. How do we work in an authentic way to bring it back? Because I have that privilege and I want to lift indigenous artists, musical artists up. It's so inspiring to me. I want to read one more paragraph from the Wikipedia page because it's about playing shells. And this is something I just don't even think of. You know, here in Western music, we're like guitar, bass, drums, you know, like we don't think about indigenous or like natural from the earth instruments. It's just not, it takes some stringing the dots together. So this is another excerpt from the Wikipedia page, which of course I'll post in the show notes. Namor's sound was a seashell. Hence, Göransson played his theme using the object since it was an integral part of the script. He felt that seashell is a difficult instrument to play, as, quote, the tone can sometimes be similar to a French horn, but you don't have the same range in tonality and intervals. Göransson explains you're very limited in your notes and how you could access the notes fast because you're basically changing the notes by just putting your hand in the seashell. So it was kind of a combination of two different seashells because we had to experiment a little bit to get the exact melody that I wanted. And sometimes when you see Namor by himself in a more intimate setting, it's just a solo seashell melody. But then when you see him with all his people ready to go to war, it's the seashell accompanied by 8 French horns. So it gets an extra power to it, end quote. Another instrument that portrays the sound of Namor was the death whistle, a clay flute that sounds like a crazy otherworldly animal scream, which represents Namor's action or strength, resulting in the abrasive sound. Several vocal sounds were used for the citizens of Talokans, which described it as low male throat singing type vocals. Okay, me Breezy back. So this again is fascinating and so cool. The idea of like taking a shell, playing it with your hand and using your hand and fingers to, I mean, it's what we do with like a trumpet or whatever, but less exact. And it's so fascinating. And yeah, you can tell the intentionality that is behind this soundtrack. So again, the big name, you know, 4 years ago, back in 2018 when the first Black Panther came out, it was Kendrick Lamar who had curated the soundtrack. And that's an amazing soundtrack, which I love and I think goes so hard. But this film, in comparison to the last one, is it has more of like a global south or like a African, indigenous lens. It's not as Western focused. So the two big names that Ryan Coogler gravitated towards for this soundtrack are Rihanna, surprisingly, since she hasn't released anything in like 6 years, and Thames, an incredible Nigerian like R&B type of artist who has come up through the ranks recently. But everyone else, not everyone else. I've heard of other names, other artists on the soundtrack, but there's many, many other artists who I'd never heard of before, and I love that. I think that's so cool. So, looking at my notes here, a fun fact is that Ludwig Göransson, he was a co-producer, either co-producer or full producer on 17 of the 20 tracks. And he visited, studied, collaborated, and recorded in studios in Mexico City, Lagos, London, and LA. So really great that he actually spent time recording these sounds locally. It all makes a difference, you know? So, all right. So the first track on the album is Rihanna's Lift Me Up. This was, there was like a lot of buzz when this song was coming out because she hasn't released music in such a long time. It's like a big joke in the industry, like about when Rihanna's next album is coming. But this song, Lift Me Up, this was like the big song, the big single from the soundtrack. And when I first heard it, I was like, okay, excuse me. I like it. I don't love it. I'm not immediately like super attached to this song. Then once I saw it within the context of the movie, and of course you hear it on the radio and like it becomes part of the tapestry of just normal life, I was like, wow, okay, I see the beauty here. Apparently this song was written by Rihanna. Ryan Coogler had a writing credit in there. Thames also had a writing credit. And, of course, Ludwig Göransson. And so the four of them wrote this as a tribute to the passing of Chadwick Boseman, the transition of our ancestor. And so, and of course, the time that the point at which this song plays in the film is so emotional, and I'm pretty sure it's like at the very end. Yeah, it's at the very end, and you find out something that's beautiful and surprising, and it just like holds Chadwick Boseman in the light. So this song, like, it's so emotional and beautiful, but it does make me sad and immediately think of Chadwick Boseman, which is the point. But when we were camping over the holiday, and we kept hopping in the car to run an errand or whatever, the car would immediately play like the first song on the soundtrack, and it would be Lift Me Up, and so it'd just be like, lift me up, and I would just be like, oh no, I can't do this right now. So yeah, I have skipped it on the soundtrack in the past just because it's like such a specific mood. And I would say the soundtrack overall, there's some darkness and heaviness and weight to it, but it's also there's so much beauty and warmth to it as well. So first track is Lift Me Up. Second track is called Love and Loyalty, and then in parentheses, Believe. This track is by Busiswa, DBN Gogo, Sino Msolo, Kamo Mfela, and Young Stunna. And I was, I like this. It's such a rich track. There's a lot going on. If you're into Amapiano, like I think it's Sino Msolo who is like an Amapiano specialist. So you have like these traditional sounds, traditional African instrumentation and drumming, but then the amapiano and the that beat comes in, and that these bass synths come in, and it sounds incredible, just beautiful. Like, I don't know, sometimes I listen to music based off of like who the artist is and whatever they have to give. This is more like this is a bunch of different artists collaborating on the same track, and it's very, I don't know, it was great for driving. It was so beautiful. So, and Busiswa, Dibian Gogo, and Kamo Mfela, I think all of these artists are from South Africa, and those three are femmes, and so to I also appreciated the femme representation on this soundtrack. The third track is called Alone, and it's by Burna Boy, and I'm already a fan of Burna Boy. I think his voice is amazing, and I think what his music, it's like specific and universal, and he's just fantastic. And so this song Alone, oh, it's pulls on my heartstrings. It's, a lyric from it is like, my whole world is set on fire, don't leave me alone. And it's, in parts it's sad and dark, and then in other parts it's rhythmic and hopeful, and it feels like a hug. So that was so good. And again, remember, like, all of these songs, all of them are made specially for this film. It's so cool. Normally you'll have some newer songs by newer artists. You'll have some older, more recognizable songs or that are already put out. No, this is like from the ground, built from the ground up. The fourth track on the album is called It's No Woman, No Cry, the popular song from Bob Marley, but the artist Thames did a cover. The Nigerian artist Thames, she is, she's still in her 20s. She's put out, I think, 2 solo projects, but just a commanding presence, and I think she has production skills as well. But her voice, this cover, oh, it's so good, and it's something that we're familiar with, but the tone, like when Bob Marley sings No Woman, No Cry, there is a sadness there and a remembrance and a memorialization, but it's not, there's something still kind of happy and upbeat about it, whereas this is more intense, but just beautiful. The 5th song on the album is called Árboles bajo el mar. It means trees beneath the sea. And this one, immediately I was struck by it. It's got some percussion in the beginning. It's very sparse in terms of instrumentation. The voice carries everything. And this song is performed by Mare Advertencia Lírica and Vivir Quintana. Okay, so I was looking into them. Mare Advertencia Lírica is from Oaxaca, Mexico. Zapoteca is her identity, and she started off as a rapper. I was like, what? Because when you hear this song, the first thing you think of is not hip hop. And yeah, did a little research. Advertencia Lírica is the first and only group of female rappers in Oaxaca, apparently. It's a group of 3 of them. And Um, and I was like, damn, that's insane. That's so cool. Apparently, Mare, her music is very speaking out for different causes. Excuse me. Oh, this cold is getting the best of me. Speaking out for different causes. She's written and performed music that shows her hatred of like prison injustices and land disputes, and just she's very, very activist within her art. So that was super inspiring. And then Vivir Quintana, I think she was an educator before she started to do music, but came from a musical family. And she wrote this song, Canción Sin Miedo, um, excuse me, Song Without Fear. And it's a feminist hymn against gendered violence and femicide, which is a huge problem in Mexico. And so she's this Mexican regional and folk musician, and I'm inspired to check out both Mare Advertencia Lírica and Vivir Quintana's work, because I'm all about femmes speaking out, speaking up for all the fucked up shit that happens to femmes. So that was amazing. We have Con la Brisa, which is like, it's like this is like where they go in the movie. This is where Kukulkan or Nemor takes Princess Shuri down into Talocan, so like down beyond the ocean floor, down to this civilization, which is the indigenous version of like Atlantis, the city beneath the sea. And so this one is done by Fudakush, and Ludwig Göransson has a credit like in the actual artist credit. Like sometimes the writers are just in the writer credits, but this song, if you look it up, it's by Fudakush and Ludwig Göransson. Fudakush is a popular Mexican singer, and her voice is so like dreamy and ethereal and floaty. And so I read that Ryan Coogler and Ludwig Göransson wanted you to be able to listen to the soundtrack and be taken through the movie, like close your eyes and be able to picture the movie. And for me, this is one of the songs that does that to a great extent. And I feel like I'm just floating down through the ocean about to discover Talocan. Incredible. This next one, number 7, La Vida, The Life, by Snow the Product, featuring E40. Okay, so what I love about this is that, do I have the lyrics up? Oh, no, I must have closed them. But what I love about this is that Snow the Product is originally from San Jose, which is like Bay Area. Her mother was from like Michoacan. That her parents are Chicano. She was signed to a label from 2016 or 2012 to 2018, and then she went independent. And like when she was younger, she would perform with her grandfather's mariachi band, and so cute. And so she's this awesome, badass Mexican American rapper. And it's featuring E40. If you're not familiar with E40, he's been around forever in the Bay Area rap scene. And he has a super, super distinctive, recognizable voice. And this song that they did together, it's so great. Like, once again, we know all these tracks were made for the film. So you can imagine like the conversation that happened before before the actual recording of the song. But yeah, I'm like typing it in because I have to look up E40's verse. It's so good. Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna read it. Earth is my turf, the world is my stomping ground. Out here where I'm from, everybody get down. I graduated from the turf without a cap and gown. One thing you see in the hood, a lot of black and brown. Asians, Caucasians, blacks and Latinos, Samoans and Tongans and Filipinos. Gotta have tough skin, have hella heart. Can't be no sucker, can't be no mark. Out here with the seals, whales, and sharks. Keep your head above water like Noah's Ark. Your bike gotta be stronger than your bark, 'cause even when the sun out, it can get dark. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I just love when rappers are like talking about black and brown coming together. It's so strong. And here you have, and next, like, then you have Snow the Product being like, I'm indigenous. You're not about to play me out, baby. I'm built for this. And you can blame it on your innocence or ignorance. Either way, you ain't getting this. Better do your due diligence. Ancestors said I'm heaven sent. Like, I don't know. I love it. I love it. This unity. And this collaboration would not have happened had it not been for Ryan Coogler. But the fact they're both Bay Area, it's just dope. So that's one of my favorites. Super upbeat and fun. Okay, then we have like a more, number 8 is more like dark and moody interlude from Stormzy, a Ghanaian British rapper who's been around a long time in the hip hop scene, especially grime style. But this is very sensitive and very intense, and it definitely sets a darker and more like wanting, yearning kind of tone. So yeah, that's called Interlude. It's pretty short. Then number 9, ooh, I love this one. This is called Coming Back for You. I've only heard this all the way through like 3 times, and I already am like so in love with some of the songs I've never heard before. So this one, ooh lele, ooh lele, ooh lele. This is Coming Back for You by Fireboy DML. Fireboy DML is an artist from the Ogun state in Nigeria, and it's so good. It's so good. He just, there's a big Afrobeat R&B kind of presence on this soundtrack, and so there's some like African harmonies blended in with this beautiful singing and rhythms, and he describes his style as like Afro life style music. So one of my faves for sure is Fireboy DML. I'm excited to check out more of his music as well. All right, number 10 is called They Want It But No, and it's by one of my favorite rap, I want to say groups, but like they're not a group, Toby and Fat Nwigwe. They are married, they have kids, they put them all the kids in the videos. Like Toby Nwigwe is, I think I discovered him back in 2019 or 2020, but he is so awesome. Like also Nigerian roots, but from Texas, I believe. And in Fat, his wife is so awesome. And they're kind of known for like getting super hype during their tracks and like just screaming at the top of their lungs sometimes. And so this song, it's like it's very like, I want to say ravey nightclub kind of feel. The BPM is super fast. There's lots of like rhythms and drumming and strings. It's like very intense tension, energy. I loved it. I mean, even the title, they want it, but no. So awesome. So awesome to see these two pop up on this soundtrack. The next track is number 11, La. Okay, I'm going to try my best with this. So I'm not exactly sure like which language or dialect it is. Um, it's called La Ali Kusha Ano One by ADN or ADN Maya Collect ADN Maya Colectivo, Pat Boy, um, Yalen Kaush. Did I write that down properly? My writing is too messy for me to see. Okay, Yalen Kaush and All Mayan Winnick. And this this is awesome, like very clearly from indigenous rappers. They talk about like Yucatan. It's like the only word that I understand in the song. But I think in many of these tracks, I'm I'm not surprised and reminded that you can enjoy music where you don't understand what's being said. Like music, the sound in and of itself is a language. So the language adds to it, but it's not all of it. And I think that being introduced to new tongues and dialects in this way is just so cool. Apparently, I'm pretty sure I read that all these rappers like work together a lot, and it's so cool. I looked it up in Translate. I put it to Google Translate. I put it to detect language, and it did not know what to do with it. It did not know. So we're going beyond Google here. We're going beyond what is normally accessible and really bringing this to the mainstream. It's just so exciting. Number 12 on the soundtrack is a track called Limoncello. And it's from OG Dave and Future. OG Dave, turns out, is his real name is Noah Kugler. He is brothers? He's either Ryan's brother or cousin. Also from the Bay Area, excuse me. From Richmond, California. And I love his style. I love his swagger. Really, really good stuff. And Future, Future's a mumble rapper from Atlanta. He's been around for a while and popularized that style of like trap music. He used to date Sierra. I don't know. I used to like when he first came on the scene, I was like, cool. And then I was like, no, this music doesn't really do much for me. I understand the purpose of it and how it is beloved, but I don't know. Future's not my favorite artist, but I didn't mind him. I did not mind him on this track, on this soundtrack. Like, I guess he has, I'm not sure, like, unconfirmed, but I'm assuming he has, like, some Nigerian roots. And to see, ATL rapper with Bay Area rapper, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Oh, I love this one. Number 13, Anya Miri. Oops, I dropped my pen. This one's by CK featuring the Pink Pantheress. And I was like, Pink Pantheress? Was that based off of the movie and stuff? But no, I think she was making music before the first film. This is a really beautiful track. I really like this one. Excuse me. I'm at the end of it. It just won't completely go away. So CK is from Kaduna, Nigeria, of Igbo descent, and popular for emo Afro beats. I thought that was funny. Afro and describes the style as like Afro pop from the future. So I loved that. I love how now we're at a point with Afro beats where it's like really branched out into like all these different kind of subgenres. And then there's the Pink Panther S. Pink Panther S is from the UK. She is a Kenyan mother and white father. And she kind of like is hitting this like pop drum and bass kind of area. So very UK, very dope. I really, this one was great. Number 14 is called Wake Up by an artist called Bloody Civilian featuring rapper Rima. Bloody Civilian sounds like a I don't know, like a intense, aggressive dude, but this is actually this is a femme. This is she was born in Abuja, Nigeria, and Bloody Civilian turns out is the term that the Nigerian army uses for the general public, like in an unsavory way. So I love like the reclaiming of that as her artist name. And Rima is a Nigerian rapper. He's really dope. He's really good. I thought it was cool that like on both this track and the next track, Pantera, they both feature Rima. So they took the same artist and featured them on two different tracks. And this one is more African based, Wake Up, whereas the next track, Pantera by Aleman featuring Rima, is more Mexican based. And so, wow, like great to have this rapper on both like a more African and more Mexican sounding track. Like so cool. Yeah, so Pantera, this rapper Aleman, I was like Aleman because I thought Aleman is the word for German in Espanol, in Spanish. But it turns out it's just his name. So he's apparently a really popular rapper from Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. And in the lyrics, the content of Pantera is like, there's stuff about like not condoning violence. And like another thing that I appreciate is even with like some of the more, let's say, masculine rappers and artists on this track, still there's a femininity or a softness or a kindness to, and a lean towards social justice within the content of the lyrics. And that, you know, they used to call it conscious rap. Now, I don't know, like hip hop is all over the place. It's cool. Everyone can do everything, but it's not popular or trendy to make music like that. And that's the type of music that I try to make. So this is really, really affirming to see like all these different artists like coming together for something good, you know. It's not like all my music has to be like good and wholesome. It's just cool to see some of the rappers like Future who can be demeaning to women and that sort of thing, like kind of step up their game here. It's like they put on their suit or whatever instead of like the baggy jeans and oversized t-shirt. I don't know. It's cool. Oh, this beautiful, smooth, excuse me, track, Jele, is by the same group that did the Love and Loyalty Believe track. It's Busiswa, DBN Gogo, Sinum Solo, Kamon Fela, and Young Stunna. And again, like traditional African vocals and choral sounds and harmonies, and kind of mixed in with like this Amapiano style. And so both of those tracks are so fire, so good, and so varied, really complex. Then you have number 17, this track called Inframundo by Blue Rojo. And this was fascinating. Okay, because when I first heard the voice, I was like, huh, this sounds very different to a lot of the other voices that we've heard on the soundtrack. Turns out this song, sung in Spanish, is a sad, solemn song um, about the loss of the mother. Like you learn in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that Kukulkan or Namor, his mother died, um, and she made many sacrifices for him, and he lost her. And so this song is about that. Some of the lyrics are, "You died for me, I lost you." Um, but when I looked up Blue Rojo, he didn't have like a Wikipedia page or anything, which many of the other artists do. But I looked him up. He's a Mexican American pop singer, and he he describes himself like in this article. He says, "I'm this misunderstood, super mystical gay boy in my fantasy." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So we're getting queerness. We're getting love and admiration for mother. We're getting, um, and apparently he did a whole album about loving a man. And I, like for Mexico, like that's huge. That's huge. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is another artist I want to take a deep dive into and discover more of, because to see queer representation within Mexican popular music is a big deal. Shout out to Tony Herrera and Underdog as well. Okay, and then we're on number 18. Number 18 is called No Digas Mi Nombre, which is like a very kind of traditional, like Mexican sounding song. But it's got like a very fierce message behind it. It's No Digas Mi Nombre. It's like, do not say my name. This is by Calle, Vida, and Furukush. Again, from Furukush was on the, which one was it? Con la Brisa. And here she appears again, this dreamy Mexican singer, on this track with Calle and Vida. And yeah, do not say my name, leave it to my friends, I do defend my land. Like, I love, once again, this representation of these indigenous cultures and land wars and this sort of thing, like this fierceness. Like, if you listen to the song and you don't know what it's about, it sounds upbeat and happy. But when you read the lyrics, it's like, wow, this is fierce. This is about fierce protection of native land. This is about what's it called? Not appropriating, not, oh Lord, adapting. It's a word like that. Adapting to the new colonial forces that come in, but remembering your name, your true name. So I loved that. I thought that was amazing. Number 19 is Mi Pueblo by Guadalupe de Jesus Chanput. And this was, I couldn't find any information on this person, this artist. And the track, this is probably one of the most sparse tracks on probably the most. It sounds like a prayer or something. And it's spoken. It's not sung. It's spoken all the way through. And then towards the end, there's some like atmospheric noises. There may be like bird noises, or you feel like you're outside by the water or something. So Mi Pueblo, which I know is like my house or my home. So that was super interesting. And yeah, I want to know more about this artist, but I'm also okay with not knowing. Once again, not everything needs to be translated into English. Not everything needs to be internet, searchable. So SEO, it's like, okay, it's cool. And then finally, the last track on the album is Born Again, another one by Rihanna. which starts slow and emotional, kind of like build me up, but then builds with some strings, and then there's some chanting and synth, that like dark, like this dark synth sound and this chanting. And it's like Rihanna set in Africa, like towards the end. It feels, I don't know, it feels like she's really getting into the African spirit, or the spirit of the film. So that's the soundtrack, peeps. That's the soundtrack. 20 songs. It moves rather quickly, but I'm very pumped to have this in my library. I want to end this section and then just say a few words before signing off. Hey, listen, sometimes you gotta check in with yourself.
Check in with yourself.
Okay, so to indulge a little behind the scenes Breezy information, my friend and worker, no, my fellow artist friend Groovy and I are, and my mom Joe, are planning a tour for the Bay Area, or not the Bay Area, for California. So we're looking at spots in like Oakland and San Francisco, in Stockton, Sacramento, and like LA, and a bunch of different places. And we decided to call it the Brown Panther Tour, which I'm super pumped about. Obviously, taking some inspiration not only from Black Panther the film, but also the group, the civil rights like advocates from the 70s. And yeah, because I want to have this like deeper meaning and deeper weight to the music and the things that I do. So we're planning this tour and it's super fun. And so we got this space, we booked this venue, and we were thinking it would be good to have a DJ. So we invited this DJ, and then this DJ wanted to bring this other artist in on things. And I checked out the other artist, and his music was great, and I thought it was great, but I also felt like, no, like I want this tour to have this like deeper themes, of intersectionality, of queerness, and also of unity and this sort of thing. And so it was hard to like say no to this artist who has a bigger following, say, than like me and Groovy, and wants to perform with us. But at the same time, I feel really empowered, and especially by Black Panther Wakanda Forever, because there's so much having to do with what I try to do with my music, which is to represent and respect cultures and genders and all of this stuff, and to represent myself as someone who doesn't like fit into boxes, and also cares about other people and stuff. Like there's this thing as an artist where you can like be too cool to sound like you care, but that's just not me. And so the music on this soundtrack, the way the soundtrack was put together, and the film itself, it's really, really inspired me, and it's really helped me stick to my own convictions around what type of people and other artists I want to align myself with, and like what I'm trying to do with music. And yeah, it's been really special that way. So I'm obviously still riding the high of this film. Apparently, I was listening to something about movies on the radio station today, and they were saying how usually like a very popular movie, like a Marvel Universe movie or something like that, will be like a third of the ticket sales at a movie theater. But for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it's been like 9 out of 10 tickets have like gone to that film. So of course, because it's a Marvel movie, because it's a family movie, like that breaks things wide open, but also because it focuses on people of color. Like it's just such a big moment for us. And so thank you for bearing with me and listening to me geek out on this film. Maybe you're just not that into it, but for me, this is such a game changer, and it's really setting the tone for new waves of cultural awareness and artistry to come through. So, thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of your day, or maybe you're just waking up, or maybe you're going to sleep. Sweet dreams, whatever it is. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
I've been in low power mode. In low power mode. Been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.